I debated on posting a video because I know that sometimes people read into things that other people say, and just a lot of misconception, misunderstanding. But I just want to be very open and very honest and very, very, very forthcoming about my feelings. Y'all know that I love me some Jesus. Love Jesus. My posts are always about my kids, scriptures I'm reading, because I read every day and I pray every day. And I make sure that my children do too, or our children do. And my husband's been very quiet. Very quiet. A lot of my black friends have been very quiet. And excuse me if I cry. I'll try not to cry, but I'm a very emotional person as it is anyway. But this has really hit our home very hard. What has happened, not just with George Floyd, but just throughout history, period. And I have a lot of white friends that have reached out to me and have asked me questions, and I totally appreciate that. I get a lot of that feedback from my friends and my husband that are black. Obviously, I'm not black, I'm an Asian American. And I will use whatever part of white in me and the privilege that comes with it that I have to stand up and to speak out about these situations that are going on right now, because they've went on for 400 years and it is time for them to stop. I know a lot of people are ignorant to the fact that it's been going on for so long, and maybe some of you feel like, oh, well, they have privileges and they have equality. No, they don't. I've literally seen it with my very own eyes. The sirens are going off. I forgot it was Wednesday. But to make things very clear here, one, I appreciate a post that a friend of mine did this morning, Kelsey Joe. Shout out to her. That was very raw, real, honest, true. If you haven't seen it, go to her page and watch it. She puts a lot on the line just making a video like that because she owns a business. And so we appreciate that. So the thing I wanted to share really is really love, and just to educate just a little smidge, even if I have to let you know how the phrase "all lives matter" affects the black community. We know all lives matter. Every single life matters. We know that. They know that. But what they're trying to say is that not all lives can matter until black lives matter too. And right now, and for 400 years, they haven't. The thing about it is a lot of people that are older and set in their ways, they know the history of slavery, and when it gets brought up, the mistake that they make is saying, get over it. It was in the past. Let me tell you something. Our son is very unique and very special. And when he was born, he had the brightest red hair. And I was shocked because, listen, Filipino people don't have red hair. There's history to that red hair. So there's history walking around in our home. And for you to tell them to get over it is rude, it's cruel, it's mean. If you want to know where that red hair comes from, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine how my husband and his entire family, both sides, feel about how their ancestors were treated and how they ended up with their last names and how they ended up with redheads in their family and mixed races in their family, and how they ended up with great grandfathers who were Irish white men. Y'all know where I'm going with that. So to tell them to get over it, it was way back when. Our child is a product and a prime example of why you should never tell anybody to get over it. My heart hurts. And it hurts for not just the black community, but for the hate that I have seen displayed on the news and all the social media outlets of people that I thought were different. People that I loved, that I respected. The silence says a lot, but then some that are silent because they don't know what to say. And I just want you to know that you can use your privilege, your white privilege, and white privilege that is not, if you want to know what is meant by that, go do your research, because it is alive and well, and it has existed for many, many, many years. But I can give you an example, and I normally don't. I've only shared this with a very, 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 very few people, because when I talk about it, it hurts. But an example of white privilege is this. So some of you know my story and some of you don't, and some of you know who my ex-husband is. His family was very well known in the city in which they lived. And I wrote a little piece about it. And like I said, I've only shared it with a few people, but white privilege is when you can literally beat your wife while she's 7 months pregnant, and literally beating the baby out of her and never getting in trouble for it. White privilege is going around town and holding guns to people's heads on numerous occasions, getting a slap on the wrist for it. White privilege is beating your wife over and over again and never getting in trouble for it. White privilege is not getting prosecuted because it's a conflict of interest and we know the family too well, so we'll have to give it over to state. White privilege is beating your girlfriend's 3-year-old where they have whelps and bruises all over the place, and being allowed to get custody of your kids and take them from your ex-wife who has no record, which, by the way, happened because they decided to bring a photo of someone I was seeing at the time who just happened to be black. Just a photo. And put it up on the judge's desk that they were really good friends with, and said, this is her boyfriend. White privilege is getting away with all of what I just stated. Until, unfortunately, you take the lives of a woman and her 2 children. You get 3 death sentences because it was so gruesome. But then your white privilege allows it to be reversed into 3 life sentences. And I'm not talking law here, because we don't want to talk law, because if any of those things that I just listed, if that were a black man, or if that were my husband, now he'd be serving some life sentences for that. So that is an example, and it's a really good example of white privilege. So my friends, I encourage you to use your privilege to stand up for those who are tired. The reason that a lot of my black friends and my husband are silent is because they're tired. They are tired. They should not have to keep explaining to you why Black Lives Matter. They're tired, you guys. They're so tired that they need us to speak for them. We need to help them and end this racism. It's not black versus white. It's blacks versus racism, period. I encourage you to watch Roots, 12 Years a Slave, Just Mercy. Read some books. Visit Bookish. My nephew's mom owns that, and she would be more than happy to point you in the directions of some books that you can read. Educate yourself, educate your children, and let's be the change that this world needs to see, because love covers all. And when you say that you are a Christian, you will not spew that hate. You will show the love of Jesus as we are Christ followers, and as we say that we are, we need to show them that we are. The question I want to ask you is, what if George Floyd was your son or your brother? How would you feel then? Really put yourself in those shoes. He cried out to his mother, and she's been dead for 2 years. So mamas, what would you do? What would you do if that was your child calling out to you? And I'm literally talking to my white friends and those who want to understand or need to understand or are struggling to understand. Do some self-reflection, and I highly encourage you to watch Kelsey Joe's video, because I commend her for that. I thank her for that. And my family loves her for that. Thank you, guys.